to it. And here we go. Welcome. Welcome to Young's Kids and Screens. My name is Sue Thotz, and I am with Common Sense. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jessica Boucher. I am with San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools, and I'm very excited to have Sue Thotz here from Common Sense Media to go over some tips and some resources to help us with our young kids and screens.
Yeah, and Jessica, you're a parent.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. How old is your kid?
Middle school. So we are definitely addicted to screens right now. Trying to find that balance of what's okay, what's too much, different sites, different apps, trying to navigate all of it right now. Yes.
Right in the heart of it. And I have two older teens at this point. So I have a 16 and an 18-year-old. So I have just come through much of it. But yeah, I also do this as part of my job. I work for Common Sense, and I do a lot of professional development with educators around media and technology and the effects of social media on our kids and the ways in which we help our kids in the everyday world balance this whole social media and media and technology world. So that is what I do every day, and you do it every day from just personal experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. So the thing that I wanted to share today is I just wanted to talk a little bit about, we're going to begin by having you all do a little bit of thinking about raising your own kids in a digital world, right? How do we help our kids be healthy? And I want you to reach back in your own brain a little bit, and I want you to, to think about your own experiences, and we're going to talk about relating your experiences to the ways in which we, talk about raising our own kids today in this digital world. We want to think about how to find the balance with media and technology for ourselves as role models, as well as trying to find the right balance for our own kids. And then we want to think about how we choose quality media for our kids. We can't just leave it up to them to wander into whatever media and technology world they feel compelled to join, or whatever Netflix serves them, or whatever their friends are recommending. It's up to us as parents to also help our kids and steer them toward quality media. So we're going to think about, what that means. And because of the fact that technology is really a huge part of our lives, both your lives as adults, probably, as well as the lives of our kids, whether it be for learning, for entertaining, for socializing and communicating. It's a huge part of all that we do. And, you see this statistic here. This is probably even a few years old, with the World Economic Forum saying that, 65% of children will end up in careers that we haven't even thought about yet, right? I mean, certainly, I'm sure as a kid, I would have never thought about being a person who talks about media and social media, all day long. So certainly that's something that might be true for a lot of your kids. So as
That's a very amazing statistic as well, to put it into perspective and think about how quickly the world is changing. And when we went to distance learning with COVID and how reliant we were with technology, I know for me that broke down the barrier of, okay, I'm limiting screen time. You're not going to get a cell phone until you're this age. I had all these rules in my mind of what it was going to look like. And I just, that all kind of just went out the window when COVID hit, because technology was our way to communicate. So now seeing that that's going to be the gateway for careers in the future, I can definitely see that our kids are going to be living in a totally different world, different times than we are. And so just to help prepare them for that in the healthiest way possible, I think is a big responsibility as a parent.
But that does not mean that you say, oh, I know you're going to need technology. You use it as much as you need to, right? You don't let your kids have control over it necessarily, without any kind of guidance. So
right.
The ways that when we were younger, I am of an age where a lot of these pieces of technology that I see on the screen are very relevant to me. I'm very
Me too.
with many of these things. And I hope many of you who are viewing this recording might also be familiar with some of these things you see on here. So I want you to pick out one of these things here. And if we were in a room, I'd have you grab, an image. I'd have these all printed out, and I'd have you grab an image of one of these things. So I just want you to think about, like, I want you to grab one with your brain. And I want you to think about, how did you use this piece of technology? Who did you use it with? What benefits do you think this technology had for you when you were a kid? And did it have any downsides? Did it cause any conflict with your friends or family? And what new tech has replaced that old tech? So Jessica, I'm going to ask you to pick out your piece of technology and tell us what it is and answer some of these questions for us. So we're going to pretend you and I are in the room and we're paired up together, right?
Okay.
So what would you say?
I'm definitely going to pick the cassette tape. That takes me way back. I remember making my own mixtapes and listening to the radio countdowns and being ready with my play record, just getting that song that I wanted, and spending so much, time and energy trying to just catch it when it was played on the radio. So definitely those mixtapes.
Yeah. Did you make them for people?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just for yourself? Yeah. And what were the upsides and downsides of listening to music in that way, or having that cassette recorder?
I think it was just like self-expression, those songs that you really enjoyed, something that brought you happiness. And, sometimes the sadder songs too, were like, oh, the song. So it just helped with emotion and getting out what you were feeling. And also kind of the thrill of the hunt, trying to catch the song being played and, oh, I got to record it.
Yeah.
The whole production of waiting for when those radio countdowns were going to be, and then having to be right there to press those two buttons. So I think I played a big role. There was a lot that went into it to make it happen.
And what new technology has replaced that old tech for you?
iTunes, Apple Music, everything at the touch of my fingertips. I could get any song I want anytime. There's no waiting for the countdown.
Yep, your good old phone. You can play anything you want, anytime you want. Yeah. The thing that grabbed my eye here is certainly that payphone. I don't know why, but I was, when I was in high school and college, I would go out a lot, and then I would need to call my family, or call my dad and have him come and give me a ride. And also, even when I was in college, I would call home to my family using a calling card that my dad had gotten. There's so many minutes on the calling card, and I would enter the whole calling card into the payphone and call my friends or call my family. And I just, the payphones were just a big part of the way that I communicated. I'd be on the road sometimes, with touring with my husband, or going out, backpacking or something. And we'd stop and we'd just call our family, who didn't know if we were alive or we were dead, or, and that was the way that we communicated with our family, and let them know, I'm in this national park and here's what we're doing. And here's, that we're all still okay and everybody's fine. So yeah.
Nowadays, to imagine leaving your house without your cell phone, it's just so tragic. You feel so lost. You're like, oh, how is anyone going to get a hold of me? But there were times when, you could go to a national park, you could go on adventures and not be, tied down to that cell phone, I guess, or just be without it. And that it's just so mind-boggling nowadays to go anywhere without a cell phone.
Yeah. So certainly, people can track me. My family knows where I'm at all times, right? It's very different than nobody having a clue. Kind of, I was in a general state and nobody having really a strong idea of where I was. So certainly, a lot of the benefits that come with that, as well as some of the privacy that I've given up as a result of everybody knowing where I am at all times, right? Including people I don't even know. So I hope that all of you are able to just find something and just, chat with somebody about some of this stuff, if you're able to do that, or just think about for yourself, what this technology meant to you as an adolescent, and some of your passions for a Walkman or a beeper or an iPod or anything like that. Right. And so, there are many benefits and there are many fears and challenges that come along with a lot of this technology. And I think sometimes as parents, we feel very strongly about, these fears and challenges, but we have to remember some of those benefits that also come along, around connection, around entertainment, learning, exposure to new ideas, and all these things that come along with some of the technology that our kids are also, is a big part of their lives. So, we have a short list here of some of the things that maybe some of you are dealing with. I don't know if any of these stand out to you, Jessica, as a parent, some of these benefits or fears that you might associate, that you might identify with here. Are there any here that catch you?
Definitely communicating with loved ones. I mean, that was a big thing during the pandemic. We had to rely on technology to be able to stay in touch with those that we would usually be able to see regularly. So that was something that definitely increased my daughter's screen time. And also the thought entering my mind of her having her own phone because she was constantly using mine and just the battery, and then people couldn't get a hold of me. And it just was like, okay, maybe it would be easier if she had her own phone, because that would be a benefit. She could reach out to family, friends, and then I also get my phone, which my life is in, I get that back as well. And so that connection to family, also the connection to the world. I think, there is a lot of access to what's going on. That's also a fear of mine. So I'll come over here where there is a lot of access. And so when you give a kid a phone, it almost feels like giving them a car without a license if they don't know how to use it correctly and navigate where to go in a responsible way. So definitely like something dangerous that she might come across, the dangerous challenges and trends that were or are on TikTok, violent posts that can be, as you're scrolling through something your child's exposed to, inappropriate content. So basically the whole fears list, I just have to admit that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure many of you who are watching this also, might have a lot to add on. But I also want us to focus on a lot of the benefits when it comes to, how many things have you learned on YouTube that you just needed to know? I just put in a toilet the other day, right? And I learned so much about, how to bleed my fuel lines and, all these mechanical things that I need to know. I don't have to rely upon, somebody else teaching me. I can just watch the YouTube video and, and do it myself. So, the benefits that come along with the technology for us and for our kids is just, they're countless, but so are all the fears and the challenges. So we just want to acknowledge both of those things and think about, what are our hopes for our kids when it comes to the use of media and technology? How do we want our kids to interact with others? What do we want their relationships to look like? What do we want them to learn and to feel and to make and create, right? Like we need to think about what it is that we want for our kids. And then we need to communicate that to our kids. It's not just about, sharing all of our worst nightmares and our concerns and why we're so worried about it. But it's also about, thinking about the possibilities and learning what their hopes are. Why do they love what it is that they see on their TikTok video or, whatever, right? It's about communicating, both those hopes and those concerns, as well as, acknowledging a lot of those benefits and really maximizing those. Our kids are not trying to be a bunch of jerks most of the time. They're not trying to scare us. They're not trying to, give us a heart attack every 5 minutes. They're trying to go out and assert their independence and explore the world because that's their job as kids. Their job is to work us out of a job. And so we need to help them, but do it in a way that is safe, that is protected, that is supported. And so we are still the parents in this, even if our kids know how to use these phones, like they know how to make their way around here better than we do. We have more experience in the world and we can give them that guidance. And we just can't forget that. We can't just give up and say, oh, well, they know this phone better than I do, right? Or they know TikTok and this platform better than I do. We still are the authorities and the parents in this world. So just want to say that part. And
I do love that you brought that up as well, because the other day, my daughter had a friend over and they're making noise in the kitchen and they made mochi. I'm like, how did you girls do this? Oh yeah, we watched a tutorial. So it does. It brings like a lot of experiences and interests that they have to their fingertips and then makes it a reality. So I love that point. So,
Yeah, mochi's delicious to make. I make it all the
mhm.
time. It's just a recipe. Yeah. So, when it comes to early childhood, which is kind of, some of the focus that we have here today, we want to think about, some of the skills that we want to impart on our kids, between in these early ages. And I still think these are relevant for older kids as well. But early on, when we think about, especially I'm the one that's sticking out to me is the switching gears during transitions.
Mm.
Kids get so focused on a device, and it's designed, right, for keeping their attention and being, making the right sounds and showing the right images that keep us fascinated. I mean, there are teams of designers that help us just to stay on these devices. And as a parent, you're just a human who's trying to get your kid to come to dinner, or just a human who's trying to get your kid to, go to sleep, right? And so those transitions, or or seeing things from another person's perspective. It's so easy to get focused in on this device and only think about your own needs. So these are the kind of skills that we as parents need to impart, because the phone and these devices are not teaching our kids how to make that transition. The phone is designed to keep them there, right? The phone is designed to keep them satiated. And we as parents need to have that balance and have these abilities to be able to impart these skills. So for example, this transitions, one of the things that we teach in schools, with common sense, is making that transition, helping kids, take a pause, step back for a second, take in a breath and breathe, and then finish up, right? So it's a routine that we're trying to help our kids understand that when they're transitioning away from technology, this is what we do. So hopefully at your schools, you're not only getting your kids to hear this from their peers, hear this from their teacher, and then practice this at home. So, these are the kinds of skills that we want our students to see in their overall culture, is when it's time to transition away from technology, we are mindful of how difficult it can be. We take a breath and we finish up, right? So, and so that goes for, there are skills associated with all of these early childhood, learning situations, especially when it comes to technology, right? So, and all of these come with various challenges themselves. So I just wanted to mention that in particular. And of course, among our early learners, 73% of their daily screen time is spent watching television or videos. So compelling, right? Much of that time has increased. It used to be that, some of that screen time was talking to family, or, certainly, learning letters, playing games, or doing some of this stuff. And now, so much of it is spent, rather than maybe reading, perhaps, doing some of these other things, is all, video based. A lot of it is video based. So I get the question all the time: how much or how little screen time is right for my child? And so, there are some guidelines out there for 0 to 2, and then from 3 to 8, 0 to 2, we're recommending, certainly they recommend very, very little screen time. 3 to 8, they're recommending, an hour a day, if that is realistic, right? For many of us, we need to shower. We need to, take a moment. We need to, take care of other things. So I'm just saying that what we do is we try to just promote what's realistic and what's healthy. And so when it comes to the health of your own kid, we ask, how does media choices affect my child? Does it reflect, does the choice that I'm making for what kind of media I'm putting in the hands of my kid, does it help us do things like, support language or literacy development? Does this media, is it something that my kid is interested in? My kid is so interested in construction machinery, right? I have one kid who is just like digger, digger, digger all day long, right? If I could give something where they would learn more about construction machinery, and he could really get into that, or dinosaurs or whatever, right? Like, that might be something that's good. So here's a list of questions. I loved a couple of tools around imagination, like games that were supportive of my kids' imagination and made them think through problem solving skills and using their imagination in order to be able to solve a problem. So yeah, so there's a good list here of like questions to ask yourself when you choose media for your kid. What do you think of that, Jessica?
I think these are excellent. And it does help you look at technology through a positive lens. I mean, you could also look at it negatively, but I love that you said healthy and realistic. So reflecting what the child likes, and then are they learning vocabulary? Are they hearing language in those media consumptions that they're spending time on? Is it something we can do together? So recently my daughter's been doing these like video edits, and
Mhm.
she's getting really good at these, like really good. And she'll tell me about how she did it and all these steps to get this like 30-second clip of something. So she's definitely being able to be artistic, be creative, use her imagination, and use like something that she's interested in and express herself with it. So I do like that you're, laying out, okay, let me see how my child's being affected by what they're doing with the media that they're consuming.
Yeah, and if you're looking for recommendations, that is one thing I'll get to at the end of this presentation. If you're like looking for something, for kids that does teach kindness, empathy, and how to be a friend, or, things that promote math or science or history or like, imagination games or whatever, right?
Mhm.
That's what we do at Common Sense is we make recommendations for the kinds of media that is good for kids. So we have, for example, it's Hispanic Heritage Month right now, right when we're recording this. And so, we have a list of great characters and creators that have, that are featured within, within the Hispanic world. And so this is kind of, what we're doing right now is just promoting a list of great characters and creators, that reflect these values and this identity. So, if you're looking for content, that is what we do. So I'll share a little bit of that in a second, but yeah, we should all have there's so much good stuff out there. We just don't have to settle for junk, I guess is what I'm saying. So you wanted to do this activity with folks,
Mhm.
and I think along the lines of like, you don't have to serve your kids junk, right? Everybody's got to eat. Your kids they're going to be eating. Why not serve them nutritious meals? Why not? Your kids are going to be consuming media. Why not serve them, good quality media? And so along those lines, I want you to think about your typical day and think about the way that you balance out your day. So what do you apportion your time doing, with your kids? What do you want your kids to do in for an 8-hour day? Let's say you're resting for 8 hours, they're in school for 8 hours, and then you have 8 hours left, right? What do you want to do with that time that you've got with your kids? And so did I add that up correctly? Yeah, I did. Okay, there are 3 8-hour portions of the day. Do a little math there. So during those 8 hours, what do you want to do with your kids? So in this activity, there are things, let's say you average it out for a week. What kinds of things do you want your kids to do with those times that they have with you? So it could be you want them to spend time playing outdoors, or maybe some screen time, maybe some family time, playing without devices, chores, right? What are the things that you would ideally love for your kid to do in that 8 hours that they have, not sleeping and not in school? So I just want you to take a moment and think about that, and think about what you would, I mean, it doesn't have to be on this list here. It could be something outside of this list, but, and think about what proportion of that time you would like them to spend doing that. Certainly there's going to be a meal in there, right? Hopefully you have dinner together in some way. Hopefully you get to spend time together doing something. What would be your ideal day? So what are a couple activities that you would really like to see your kid doing in that 8 hours? I mean, homework, maybe. I mean, you have a middle schooler, so she probably would
Mhm.
spend some of that time. What other things would she do? What would you like her to do?
Physical activity. So definitely practicing her karate,
Yeah.
playing with others. So socializing, making
Yeah.
sure that she's actually, communicating with a person in person, not just, video chatting or FaceTiming. And the imagination time, I really like that because that's something you can do that's creative, making, bracelets or drawing or doing something that's just a hobby and fun. So I do like that. So the physical activity, the social engagement, the imagination. I'm going to say chores too, because you have to have some responsibility in there.
Like, yeah, my middle school, maybe there might be some things. I mean, even if it's chores for herself, right? Just, spending that time taking care of herself and her own responsibilities that she does to herself personally, as well as maybe to your family, right? So that might be, some time spent doing that kind of stuff. I mean, just, making her bed, brushing her teeth. Like what is she personally responsible for to be able to make sure that she's prepared for what it is that she needs to do, right? That kind of stuff in there. So, so this is just an example of just some of the ideas. And, if you have, so Jessica, you're going to send a little handout that goes along with this video, and you as a family can fill out your own pie chart with your 8 hours. And you could say, as a parent, here's what I would ideally like to see my kids doing. Some of these things are with tech, and some of these things are without technology. And, maybe you like reading a good old fashioned book with your kids, like sitting down and at bedtime, you all spend a half an hour reading books together, right? That's something that I always did with my kids when they were little, it probably till they were too old, but they always loved spending time, reading books together. And so, is that a tradition, that you have in your household? What do you hold sacred in terms of, the activities that you do together and what's really important to you? And some of that is with tech and some of that is without. So now we just want you to just think about what you would ideally like over the course of a week. How do you want you and your kids to spend time together? Maybe color it up, print it on, put it up on your refrigerator and have a conversation about it. Have a family talk about what you want with your kids. What do they want? What do they want more time doing? How does it all make them feel? And what would you decide on together as a family? So that's just one idea. And the whole, part of the philosophy behind this is you want to be a person who is in support of a healthy balance for your kid's life. So there's a whole acronym here, MEALS, and I'll go through these. So the whole idea is like, with the M stands for modeling. You as the parent cannot tell your kids what to do without doing it yourself, right? Like, your actions are much louder than your words. And if you're spending all your time on your phone, but you're telling your kids don't spend time on the phone, then guess what? They see it. And so make sure you are a good model for what you want your kids to be. Have conversations, engage with their kids about what they're doing. Whenever they're on their phones, ask them, hey, hey, show me what you're up to. Oh, who's your favorite? Did you see something really funny today? Oh, I'd love to see that. Tell me about this game you're playing. What are you trying to do? Do you know people in here? Oh, who do you know? Oh, that's so cool. Show me the thing that you just learned, the level that you just beat, right? Have an interest in what it is that your kids are doing. Not all screen time is equal. Creation is different than consumption. As we said, like, choosing good quality media is so important when it comes to media that has values that you share as an adult in the lives. They learn from the models that they see. There were certain shows that I never let my kids watch because I did not like some of the way the characters behaved. And so I picked the media that I thought I wanted my kids to behave like. Limiting. Kids need limits. I mean, they need limits on all kinds of stuff. So especially around bedtime, and putting devices away and out well before everybody goes to bed, and setting up those rules and expectations that all your devices go to bed at a certain hour, and then we all get ready, we have some time away from our screens, and then it's time for us to go to sleep, right? And having devices in a separate area, or having computers in a common space where you all can see what's going on with that screen, so that your kids are not sequestered. Same with televisions, right? Like having your media in a space where everybody knows that people can walk through at all times. Like that's just a really simple way to just keep an eyeball on what your kids are doing. And then, of course, we as parents, man, this is so hard. It's so hard, and nobody should be doing this by themselves. We all are in it, doing the same kind of thing. And, on days when we lack patience, when we screw up, when our kids are being terribly mean to us, or, or being rude in some way, like, how can we support each other? and talk about the struggles that we're having. It's very important, and especially at school, when our students are peers, how do we help support each other as parents so that we're kind of all on the same page, especially also with our school. It's very important that our school has an understanding of what, how they can support us as parents, and that we're all together and working together with our schools. So there's a little QR code on here that Jessica put on. And what'd you put in here, Jessica?
I put the meals activity, so it does have the graph where you can fill in your ideal day and what's important and what can be used with tech and without tech. And then also here, after learning about the meals acronym, what are 3 different ways that you're going to be able to take next steps with this?
Yeah, actually, that's great. That's great. So you can even put this on the fridge too, as a reminder to yourself, as a parent, that this is what I'm going to try to do, and when you think about yourself as a parent, what could you do to make your media life more balanced, right? Like, I'm terrible about playing with my phone, before I go to bed, or having it near me, at bedtime. Could I be a better parent and model some of these things, right? Could I put the phone down and listen to my kids, make sure that my phone's away at dinner, right? Like, what are all these things that I can do to be a better model for my kids? And hope that they are able to take care of themselves.
Hi, I'm Arcelia
Hold on a
Gonzalez
second.
for Common Sense Media.
I'm gonna play a video. I don't know that. Could you hear that? That was okay. You could hear that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pause this share real quick, and then I'm gonna reshare to make sure that the audio goes through. So pardon my my little technical flub. I just want to make sure that the sound is good, but we're just gonna watch a quick video about choosing media. As I said, we were gonna do some of that. So let's watch this real quick.
Hi, I'm Arcelia Gonzalez for Common Sense Media. Common Sense's library of age-based ratings and reviews covers everything families want to watch, read, play, and learn. Our research-backed reviews are written with child development in mind and aren't influenced by media creators or by our funders. To take a closer look at all the useful information Common Sense reviews have to offer, let's dive right in with a title search for a popular movie. Once the review page loads, the first thing you'll see at the top is an age rating. This indicates the youngest recommended viewing age, based on the title's specific content and our developmental guidelines. The seal image to the left indicates that this particular title has been named a Common Sense selection. This means it's recognized as outstanding media with the potential to spark family conversations, entertain families of all kinds, and have a positive lasting impact. Over to the right, you'll notice the green Get It Now button, which shows you where the title can be found for immediate viewing. Scrolling down the page, you'll see a list of content categories with in-depth information, including topics like positive messages and diverse representations, as well as potential areas of concern like violence and language. Directly beneath the content grid is our What Parents Need to Know section. This offers a summary of the essential information you'll need to make a quick decision. If you're interested in reading what other parents or even kids have to say about the title, our user review section is just a click away. Continuing down the review page, you'll find more details on the story, the reviewer's thoughts on the quality of the title, and helpful prompts for parents and caregivers looking to start a conversation with kids. Lastly, you can check out additional recommendations from our editors, as well as related best of lists in the sidebar section on the right. At Common Sense, we know media has the power to inform and inspire young minds, and it's our mission to help families make the best possible choices for their kids. Find all our reviews and much more at commonsensemedia.org.
There you go. That's what we do. That's a big part of what we do. And so we just wanted you to take a moment and think about, what's your favorite show? What's your kid's favorite show? Think about, how did it make you feel? What did you learn from the show? How would you rate that, in terms of the scariness or the appropriateness or positive, role models and such. So when you think about this stuff, we also, want you to, of course, take a look at some of your kids' favorite shows, and feel free to look them up on the Common Sense site, and you'll see, how we rate it in terms of all of these things, right? Your kid's favorite, does it have diverse representation? Is it violent or scary? Is there sexy stuff in there, and so on? So I just I'll take you there for, right now, and just show you the way that, you would just go and look this stuff up. You would go to Common Sense Media, and then you would just search for whatever movie right up here in the search bar. And of course, if you wanted to find recommendations, we have our favorite movies, best streaming picks, our selections for movies. And then we often do, our own selections of, various topics, or, identities, or different historical events, or anything like that. So, or different, facets of the world that we live in. So we also do this for TV, for books, right? For games, and now we do podcasts as well, and apps. Additionally, man, you want information, tips, and FAQs about things like TikTok, Snapchat, all these things that we're talking, that are in there. That's in there, as well as we now do ratings and reviews in Spanish, and we have content specifically for Latino culture. And then of course we also have research, and then you can find out more about who we are and what we do, and how we make our money, and all that good stuff. So that's all in there. And so that would be a great way for you to get started. This is, these are the things that are up first right now, that are being reviewed, and shared on our home screen right now with the Woman King, something I want to go and see myself. Right. So, as we complete our session today, Jessica, I just wanted to, to thank you, of course, for having us here. And I wanted to ask you this great question about how will you make informed media choices for your own family? Like, what might you do in order to be able to be, just try harder, right? Just be a little bit better. What you do for yourself, maybe for your kid, and just to try to make your home a little bit more harmonious when it comes to, and well balanced, and have a sense of well-being around media and technology. How might you try to do something a little bit different today?
Well, this was so packed with information. It was so good. It really made me stop and think as a parent, not only what my child is doing, but what I'm doing. So when you broke down the MEALS acronym, and you were talking about modeling, and then going into how not all media is the same, I'm thinking, what am I modeling when I'm on my phone, or when I'm, on a device? Is it something that is necessary? Is it something where I'm consuming something positive, or something informational, or is it just fluff? Is it just because it's on? So I think modeling is definitely something I need to be more aware of. And then also setting limits, just making sure, like, okay, we are going to have a certain time. Okay, this might be bedtime, but this is basically your phone's bedtime. So have a phone bedtime before bedtime, just to have a routine and consistency, and see how that might change things. And then I also liked how you compared the devices to a TV, and you said, we would have our TVs in a communal space.
Yeah.
So that's the same with devices, because all too often we kind of, they're so small and compact, and we just hold them close, that I didn't really realize that it's being too personal, and not, available for what is actually happening on the device, as it would if you were watching TV in the living room. So I like that as well. So those were my top three: modeling, setting limits, and then also using devices in a communal space.
That's great. And I also don't want to guilt anybody into feeling bad about watching, as a parent, you still have your ability to choose whatever you want to right? Like we as parents, we are adults and we can watch our guilty pleasures or sit around and scroll on our devices if we need to, right? Like no guilt in this. I just, how does it make us feel at the end of the day? If it makes us feel great and if it makes our kids feel great to make good choices, that's fantastic, right? Like, we want to feel like we're being productive, that we're learning, that we're sharing, that we're connecting with others, right? That's the point of all of this. And however we do that in a way that reflects our own family's values and really helps us connect with each other and feel good about the things that we do and we learn, that's fantastic. It's just sometimes these devices have a way of making us feel bad or guilty, or I've watched way too many episodes of this in a row and it is 3 o'clock in the morning and I need to get some sleep. That is when we need to just stop and reflect and say, okay, that was maybe not a great choice. I'm going to do better, right? And we need to help with our kids and help them reflect upon their own lives a lot, right? Because sometimes they will eat all the chocolate. Sometimes if you sit down and let them eat the whole cake, they will. But our job as parents is to like, hey, a piece of cake is great, and then we're going to put it away. We'll save it for another time, right? So, just balance it out and we're doing the best that we can, right? And so a little bit better every day. That's what we're trying for. So
Love that you say we're doing the best we can. Yes,
we are. I just want to close that if you would like a reminder of some of these things, one of the things you can do is you can sign up for Tips by Text from Common Sense. And all you do is you get out your phone, our much maybe maligned phone, but and say, just text the word either kids to 21555, or if you want these in Spanish, you can also text the word familia, F-A-M-I-L-I-A, familia to 21555, and you'll be asked some questions. And this is intended for families with kids 3 to 11 years old. You can stop them at any time. Your text message rates apply, but it's free otherwise. And so, if you want some reminders of this, that would be great. I also have another quick video in there, a couple of videos if we needed them, but these are all here for, we have tons of great resources at Common Sense, and we would love to share them with you. They're all basically pretty free, and we hope that you enjoy them because we make them all for families and for kids, right? To try to help the world by raising better kids, right? That's what we're trying to do here. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your presence. We hope that you enjoy the time and the technology and the media that you consume with your kids. We want to help you try to find the best ones and use them well, right? And use them in a way that enhances your life with your kids. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jessica.
thank you.
And we'll see you all again next time. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. And how do I stop?